Welcome to Let's Relieve Regret, the uplifting podcast where we talk about how to relieve what you're worrying about.
It can feel so good to finally let go. Let go of past hurts, let go of old grudges, let go of self-doubt, self-shame.
The thing is, we aren't always given the tools to let go. We're told to get over it, or it's time to move on. But how do we do that?
We will share our stories, tools, and strategies of how we let go to help you let go.
Let's begin. Welcome, everybody. My name is Victoria Murabercia, and I am the co-host of the Let's Relieve Regret podcast. And I'm joined by my wonderful, magnificent co-host.
Shadoe Ball.
Yay, I made her laugh.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to the Let's Relieve Regret podcast. You know, every time I host and I open with welcome or hello, I have this dream of doing the hello, 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 like doing like the three-part barbershop.
I think that would be fun.
Yeah. Next time, let's see if we can do
Okay.
it. Or when we have a guest, maybe we can convince our next guest to do it. So we have three like tones of hello.
Right. So. I'm not guaranteeing a harmony, by the way, but I will participate.
Anyways, welcome, listener. Welcome, everybody. How are you doing today, Shadoe?
I'm all right. I mean, it's gonna come across in my voice, so I'm sorry, everyone. I'm nursing a bit of a cold. It's not COVID, did the test, whatever. Yeah, just one of those wintry cold things that stick around. And like I have a sore throat, my voice is a little lower than usual, but in general, I feel fine. So I'm happy to record the podcast today. Yeah, I'll give it like a 6 out of 10. Like nothing spectacular is happening, nothing terrible is happening, just a day. Today is just a day. How about you?
Just a day. Yeah, I'm gonna go 7 out of 10.
Nice.
It snowed finally. We've had no snow all winter. If you're listening to this, it is February 16th right now, 2024, and we've had no snow all winter in Toronto. It snowed yesterday, and it went out when I went out on my walk yesterday. I was like, oh, it's not supposed to start snowing till later. So I went out on my walk, and I always do like anywhere between like 6 and 10 kilometers every day. And so I think I was about 3 kilometers out. And then the snow started coming, and I was like, oh man. And I had 3 kilometers to walk home, and it was a blizzard, like wind, white out. And then didn't realize like my eyes were watering, and I was wearing mascara. And so then my mascara had run all the way down my face, and I didn't realize. And people were looking at me like I was walking home, and it was around 3:30. So crossing guards were out.
Yeah.
And one crossing guard just looked at me. He was holding up the stop sign. And I was like, and I got home and looked in the mirror, and I was like, oh, I wonder how long I've looked like this. Just like,
oh man,
mascara running down my face. I was like, oh, I wonder if I've been this way the whole time.
It's funny you had mentioned that. Like I was in your neighborhood last week, and I noticed that a lot of people were saying hello to me.
Yeah, I live in a very friendly neighborhood.
Yeah. And like I kind of used to live in the east, and not as far east as you, but I was like, oh man, I kind of miss being around here because like I couldn't believe it, like because because I live right downtown, I'm trained to not talk to people, even though I would love to. I don't talk to people unless there's like something really urgent or something like you have to say. But yeah, like I was walking around Greenwood, and every single person that like we crossed paths was like, hello. And I went, hello. Like, okay, hi. And so then I was like, when I got to my streetcar stop, I like pulled out my phone. I'm like looking at my face, looking for something like mascara running, or like, why are people saying hello?
I know. Yeah. And no mascara running down your face.
No, yeah. just people being friendly.
People saying hello or smiling at you or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I was wearing my bright pink vest, so I think that just also attracts people to smile.
Maybe it's the magic of the bright pink vest. We've talked about the bright pink vest before on this podcast when you bought it.
So that could have been it too. Also, I think just because like when I do go back to the East End, I do feel like a little bit like a tourist. So I might like
Mm,
have that very open like face that's like, yes, I need help.
interesting.
Because it's so much quieter over there, like which is nice. It is really nice.
That was one thing when I first moved to the East End. And for any of you that don't know Toronto, I mean, it's not really that far. It's like 20 minutes from downtown. It's really not
Yeah.
that far. But I had problems sleeping when I first moved to the East End because it's so
Mm,
quiet at night. And I had lived
right.
downtown for so long and I was used to hearing people talking and traffic and right. And I lived like
Yeah,
right in the middle of downtown. So even though I was on like the 18th floor, if I had my window open, you could hear people talking on the street, like echoing and
absolutely.
whatever. Yeah, and I remember the first couple nights I just looked at Christian, I was like, it's so quiet. And we had to like get used to falling asleep with that, which was, and now I can't handle any sound when I fall asleep. I'm like, what is
Right.
that ticking noise? But yeah, so well, so interesting. That makes me feel validated about the neighborhood I live in. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting though, like, because yeah, yesterday it kind of went from zero to blizzard very quickly. It was because I saw like I saw on the news, it was like expect some weather today around 10:30, and it was like almost 10:30 on the dot. And it was like, whoa.
Yeah, when
So
I went out for my walk, there was sun, so I was like, ah, it's not coming at 10:30, and I went out for a
yeah,
walk, and
yeah,
then I came home and I was just like, whoa, man. I was like,
yeah.
my jacket is not as waterproof as I thought it was. I was just like, because it was a little
Hmm.
bit of a wet snow, but that was kind of joyful, though. I'm not complaining about it
Yeah,
because my goal is to be able to walk in all kinds of weather and just be able to get out and be in nature. And
yeah.
I'm gonna say my cause for applause for today too. So when I went out for my walk before this, I walked out the front door and it's like the good like squeaky snow, the
Yeah.
and the kids in our apartment buildings, again, it's like six small high rises all together, have built a ginormous snowman in the middle of the
Amazing.
apartment buildings. So huge. They must have done it last night. And then when I got home from my walk today, they had taken it apart. So now it's just three balls.
Oh,
And these
okay.
two little kids were trying to push the bottom ball, and it's so huge. And it just like was not moving. And I was just like, this is great. Just
Yeah.
like, they're like getting some strength training in, they're being active outside, they're loving it, and they're just talking to themselves. I didn't butt in because free play is important. I was just
Yeah.
watching them, and when they're like talking to each other, trying to figure out how to move it. You push from this side, now push from here, and it's just like this ginormous snowball that's like taller than these kids.
So cute.
They're trying to push it. I don't even know how the snowman got built. Adults must have helped them build the snowman. Or maybe it was
Right.
adults that built the snowman last night because somebody had to lift the ball and put it on. There was a three-tiered snowman. But that's my cause for applause today is seeing some fun in the snow and not complaining about the snow because we haven't had any. And so I'm kind of
Hmm.
just enjoying the snow. Do you have a cause for applause?
I had a different one lined up, but I'm going to switch it for the snow as well. Because Gertie, the dog, is so funny. She does not like the rain. She does not like the cold, but she loves the snow. So last night when I took her for a little walk and this morning too, she is just living her fantasy. She is jumping in and out of the snowbank. She's like I cannot get her to come back in. Like she wants to live outside in the snow when it's like big fluffy snow. It's squeaky too. Like yeah, because even I noticed like as I was stepping on it, it had that good squish. But yeah, like she was just so happy about the snow. It's funny, like we're all filled with all these little like, seemingly contradictory things. Like we like one thing, but we don't like this part of it, or we have a rule about we never do this, but then there's one exception. Like, and Gertie reminded me of that today. Like yeah, winter, she loves the snow, she doesn't like the cold, and then rain, I think she hates rain more than any other type of weather. Whether it's like heavy or light. The vet explained to me it's because it's so loud and she's so close to the
Oh,
ground that it
oh, that's
like
interesting.
reverberates off her gigantic ears.
Huh.
And the snow is quiet, right? Like the snow creates like almost like an inoculation from the snow or from the sound. So yeah, I'm gonna make my cause for applause some actual snow. Look at that.
Yeah, just finding the joy in the snow. Interesting.
Hmm.
Should we get into it?
I think so.
Let's
And
get
I think
into it.
you're going first today.
I
Is
do
that
believe it
correct?
is my turn to go first
All
today.
right. Excellent.
I have a regret that I would like to let go of in order to move forward. I actually think this one is a regret, and it's almost come from me reflecting once I kind of learned about this concept and reflecting back on it. I think I've already let go of it, but my regret is mistaking or self-confidence for self-worth. And they're two different things. So when I look back when I was going through my burnout and I was kind of starting on this personal growth journey and figuring myself out, I went all in with fitness, working out, eating healthy, and I was really like body confident, right? Really confident in my body. And I thought, yeah, this is going to fix me. This is going to heal me. This is going to fix all the overwhelmed things. And I was seeing my physiotherapist, who actually is just amazing. He does physiotherapy, fascial therapy, all sorts of things, and mindfulness. And he said to me, you know, Victoria, I think you have to work out less because we can get addicted to the dopamine and adrenaline that we get from physical activity. And you can be using it to avoid actually healing yourself or healing your emotions. And that's the difference, right, between self confidence and self worth. And they're both important. And we need to focus on both. And so here's the consequence. The consequence of me focusing only on the self-confidence piece is that I was neglecting the self-worth piece. And self-worth is I am worthy just because I am. I am worthy just because I am a human being that exists on the face of this earth. And that was really hard for me to learn. Really hard for me to learn. But building the self-confidence piece was easy, and I almost got addicted to building the self-confidence piece. I'm still working on it. That's who I was then, and that's who what I had to do then to start healing from my burnout and overwhelm. But now I'm further along the journey, and I'm focusing on both. It's okay that that's what I had to do to start healing on the journey. And the great thing is that I saw the cues and had people in my life, professionals in my life, that pointed out I needed to start focusing inwards a bit more. And it really has been an aha moment for me, noticing or knowing the difference between self confidence and self worth. I don't have to do anything to be worthy. I am worthy just because I'm a human being on the face of this planet. So that's my regret.
Do you do you want feedback today, or did you want
Yeah,
to
I'd,
share? And
I'd love feedback.
it's so funny because you've had to actually give me this advice more than once about you're worthy just by being a person. So it's really nice to hear that you had to go through it as well. So I just want to say thank you for that. So yeah, it's just really nice to hear that you had to go through it as well. I love this idea too that like it's okay that it was the stepping stone.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to talk more? Like, what do you think would have happened had your physiotherapist not pushed you to reduce that workload, I guess?
I would like to think that I eventually would have come to it, but let's say I didn't. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
my physiotherapist didn't point it out to me, or my therapist, my psychiatrist, like I'm sure somebody would have pointed it out, but let's say that I didn't, right? Let's say that I was trying to do it on my own, because we can really mistake this idea of self-confidence, and we can still be really struggling on the inside and
Mm-hmm.
be pushing it down, or then we can start judging ourselves. Well, I'm doing all this work and I feel confident in my body and I'm so proud that I can do a chin up and I'm so proud that I can do this. Why am I
Mm-hmm.
still feeling imposter syndrome, or why am I still feeling unworthy? And that's stupid, Victoria. You shouldn't be feeling that way. You're doing
Right.
it right. So we can get into to those kind of spirals too. And I for sure did at some point, right? And it's when I started having those aha moments about working on myself. And that's when I started to transition too into that. But I
Mm-hmm.
honestly think if I hadn't had the aha moment or realized it, I would. potentially still be just as miserable. I mean,
Right.
probably be fitter than I am now. At that time, and this is something I've been thinking about recently too, which will be another regret, is like
Mm-hmm.
my body isn't as like I'm not as strong physically as I was then, but I was also
Right.
overworking out, right? Like I had a
Yeah.
4 pack, I had like massive definition, and I was working out in kind of a boutique gym, and there was quite a few trainers there that trained fitness models, and they would
Mm.
approach me and say, you could be a fitness model, right? Like,
Right.
but that still didn't make me feel good about myself either. I was like, no,
Right.
I can't do that. I think that if I hadn't had this moment where I realized I need to start to work more on my emotional health, I'd probably be stuck in a place of like toxic positivity, masking. I'd still be
Mm.
repressing. I don't think I'd be as connected and happy and emotionally healthy as I am now. And I'm still working on my emotional health. There's always going to
Right.
be stuff to work on, but yeah, I think it was a real turning point for me to realize the
Mm-hmm.
difference, because there is a difference.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. For our listeners who might be experiencing that right now, like what advice would you have for them? Because potentially they aren't getting that outside feedback, or when they are getting that outside feedback, they're completely dismissing it because they want to make their health the number one, right? Like my health, like I've gone through this. I've had friends go through this where like my health is my number one. I'm not budging on this. This is exactly what I have to do to be healthy. If someone's kind of stuck in that, like what kind of advice do you have for them?
Yeah, I think it's a good question because I don't want anybody by any means to think that I'm like bashing
No.
fitness and saying don't do that, because I mean, as part of the program that I teach on my wellness platform, fitness is a key part of it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
moving our body, keeping our body healthy, nutrition is important. I'm not saying that that's not important, because it is, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Yeah.
And I guess my advice would be, okay, here's a realistic piece of
Okay.
advice. Stare at a wall for 2 minutes.
Right.
What does
Interesting.
your inner monologue say? If you're still feeling those feelings of questioning yourself, feeling not worthy of love, you
Mm-hmm.
got to do some work. If
Yeah.
you're judging yourself, you got to do work. Just 2 minutes of total absolute quiet, or close your eyes and really listen to what's going on in there. Here's another sign too, is resisting compliments,
Right.
and that like thank you is a sentence kind of thing. So like
Mm-hmm.
someone gives you a compliment, that can be, and you go, oh, but it was a team effort. Oh, no, 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 and you brush them off.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real sign that you need to work on your self-worth as well, or that you don't believe that you're valuable, because you need to be able to receive the compliment. And
Mm-hmm.
when you can receive the compliment, it's because you believe and know that you are worthy of that compliment. So look
Yeah.
out for those signs. Are you resisting compliments? Are you pushing them away? What are you saying to yourself deep down inside?
Mm-hmm.
Are you
Mm-hmm.
crying at commercials is another one, right? Like,
Right.
or are you like resisting or feeling cringy at those things where connection and love is expressed? So
Mm-hmm.
be aware for those things, and know that those are signs of how you feel about yourself and self-worth as well. So simple things, and then start doing the work. I mean, see if you can list 3 things a day that you love about yourself. And only
Mm.
one of them can be something about your body.
Right.
Or maybe let's even make it simpler. Maybe it's two. You get to list one thing you love about your body. I love how strong my arms are and I can do a chin up. And the
Mm-hmm.
second thing needs to be something else. It can't be about
Right.
your body.
Right.
Start there. Start with that challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I really, really like that. I think, yeah, it is interesting when I think about like the most fit times in my life, I can kind of see the timeline forming now of like when I got
Mm,
really, really into fitness was that I was really trying to avoid feeling about something else. So I think, yeah, we all just find different ways to numb ourselves. And then there's like judgment on, are you numbing yourself with something that makes you feel good or not feel good? Or I also just wanted to kind of get your input on the healthy eating piece because we know that changes every day, right? Like they say, this is in, this is out, this is in, this is out. Things are always just, changing. I was kind of reviewing some stuff this week around the Mediterranean diet. And it's always the one that's given, right? It's like if you go to any kind of thing, it's like you got to start eating more the Mediterranean way. And it's interesting that here in North America, we completely put it with because it's the foods. Those are the healthiest foods to eat, as opposed to like the way the Mediterranean people eat. My understanding is that there's a
Mm.
lot more cooking together, being together, consuming together. There's a lot more of that happening. I just think we're doing everything too fast here, maybe. So yeah, I'm just kind of throwing it out there. It's not directly related, but I thought you might have some interesting insight about it.
Well, I think that's really interesting in terms of connectedness. And
Mm-hmm.
I can relate it. Like self-worth became about connectedness is for me too, is I
Yeah.
started being vulnerable with the people in my life instead of masking and pretending everything was okay. And it helped me create deeper connections. And when I
Mm-hmm.
created those deeper connections, once I was vulnerable, those deeper connections also helped me feel a better sense of
Mm-hmm.
self-worth, right? Because they're saying, I like you for exactly who you are, whether you're being vulnerable and sad or whether you're being happy and joyful,
Right.
right? Our relationship isn't transactional. You don't have to be this one way and give me this one thing in order for me to like you.
Yeah.
I've developed these friendships and relationships that are like, I like you no matter what. And that
Mm-hmm.
also really helps with self-worth. And that translates into connectedness, right? And what
Yeah.
you're describing is like how we eat like how we prepare the food and eat the food in community. In that way, our cortisol levels are lower.
Totally.
And so then when we're eating that food, it's a whole process. You're right. It's not just about the food, it's about what's like chemically going on with our emotions affects our weight and affects our body and
Mm-hmm.
affects our body's ability to build muscle, to lose weight, to do all those things. And it's not just all these boxes. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just the box of working out, the box of eating, like everything is connected. It's all interwoven. It's all
Mm-hmm.
baked in. Whatever analogy you want to
Yeah.
use, it's all connected. And yeah, I totally agree with you. Cooking
Mm-hmm.
together, eating together, eating at a table, not in front of the TV, like all these things are connected to how our body is digesting and interacting with that food.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm eating the food and going, this is so delicious and such a beautiful tomato, right? That means
Mm-hmm.
I have less cortisol. I have more joyful chemicals going through my body
Yeah.
as I'm digesting the food.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
Mm-hmm.
in fight, flight, or freeze, and my body's not saying I need to hold on to this food and turn it into fat because I need to protect myself. I'm
Right.
safe and I'm eating, and it's delicious and joyful. Yeah, so I
Mm-hmm.
totally agree with you.
Again, I think we find solace in like control, right? So it's like, well, I'm eating exactly this way and I'm going to feel better because I'm eating exactly this. And again, it is all interwoven, interconnected. Yeah, thank you so much. I think also this will help people who are potentially beating themselves up for not working out enough, or like they haven't defined what their enough is, or so I think that's going to be really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I
So
did
thank
that
you.
too, right? Like once I started pulling back working out and walking more, it
Mm-hmm.
still happens. I'm not perfect, everybody. There's still times
Yeah,
in my head where I like beat myself up for not working out enough, for sure.
yeah,
But then I remember who I was when I was working out, like anywhere from 7 to 10 times a week. Like sometimes I
right.
was having double workout days. I
Yeah.
think about what my mental health was like then, what my mental health is like now. And then
Yeah.
that can also then remind me, whatever my body looks like, whether it's fit or
Mm-hmm.
not fit to whatever my standards are, society
Yeah.
standards are, because I've been in both places. Was I
Mm-hmm.
happier when I was fit? No.
Mm-hmm.
When I was super fit, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm actually a happier person now. So
Right.
we have to, again, self-worth is different than self-confidence.
Yeah, I love
And
it.
self-worth is that inside work. And yes, physical activity and nutrition is a part of it, but it's not all of it. We
Mm-hmm.
want our bodies to be healthy. It's important to be healthy. It gives us confidence, but we have to move, we have to use the confidence to start to build our self-worth too.
Right.
So we need well-rounded programs, well-rounded strategies and tools.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think we talked about this in the new year too, because the new year's when it happens, right? Every just does fitness and nutrition. We need to be well-rounded about our health, our emotional health, our intellectual health, our social health, our
Mm-hmm.
nutrition health, our physical health, our financial health, all of the things, our spiritual
Yeah.
health, all of it.
Yeah. And then on top of all of that, there's pressure to make sure that we're not feeling that pressure. Right? It's like you have to have this
Yeah.
whole wheel of things to take care of, but at the same time, be kind to yourself about it.
Yeah.
Like, because yeah, it can also just turn into again like you're saying, almost like a checkbox. Like I did my 2 pages of journaling. I called one person. I drank my 3 glasses of water. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And then
then we're getting into I call it like an addiction, but that addiction is structured the same way we did with fitness, right? And
mm-hmm,
we start that way, but we
mm-hmm,
don't want to become addicted to the structure of doing the thing and judging ourselves. We start
yeah,
that way to form the habit. So
yeah,
yes,
for
in the
sure.
beginning we have to check the boxes,
Mm-hmm,
but then we have to allow it to become a natural habit.
mm-hmm,
And I
mm-hmm,
think that's where the being kind to yourself comes in.
yeah,
Is that okay? Well, I didn't do it today, but I still feel good about myself. So that's okay
yeah,
that I didn't check that one checkbox today or that those two check boxes today. Okay.
mm-hmm,
Maybe I'll
mm-hmm.
check them tomorrow. And then we transition into making them habits.
Yeah, yeah, I hear that for sure. Hey, do you have anything else you want to share in particular to this regret or any?
No, I'm kind of glad I got it out because it's really been like an aha moment, like looking back, because sometimes it's okay to look back to see your progress. And it's really been an
Mm-hmm.
aha moment for me to look back and say, hey, I thought I was doing really great then, but I was still struggling underneath. And to look back and see the progress that I've come to and to celebrate that, right? So letting go of the regret of that, I mean, is to celebrate it. That's who I was then. This is who I am now. But
Mm-hmm.
I you can just always keep learning, right? Like
Yeah.
you can just always keep learning. And I don't ever want to be stagnant. I want to keep learning about personal growth. I want to keep learning
Mm-hmm.
about myself and I want to keep feeling better about myself.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so thank you.
Great.
Would you like to share yours?
Sure. Again, there's a couple similarities, but you'll see. I don't have to pre-explain it.
Okay, go
Okay.
for it.
So I have an experience I need to let go of in order to move forward. I regret not asking for help sooner regarding the things I should just know how to do. So I have 3 specific examples of this, and I'm going to break it into a series. So today we're just going to deal with the first example, and I'll do the next 2 later this season. There's 3 specific examples I have around a regret where I don't ask for help soon enough. Especially if they're the types of things that I should just know how to do. So here's the first one. I really don't like my job title. And it's one I gave myself. So there's really no reason for me to not like it or to be like beholden to it. The reason I don't like it is that it doesn't quite fit what I do. I feel like I'm somewhere between a virtual assistant and a consultant, but neither of those titles feel right. I keep hoping that I'm going to find the magical third option that actually fits what I do and conveys those things clearly to the people that are looking for my services. Whenever I am referred to as a virtual assistant by someone else, I get this like ew feeling inside. And then whenever I consider calling myself a consultant, I immediately hear a choir of criticism about consultants in general, whether they're too expensive, they're egomaniacs, they just come in and ruin everything, et cetera, et cetera. So I've currently settled on freelance executive assistant as my title, but I still feel like that's not quite the right fit. All I really want to do is clearly convey what I can do for people from the moment they are introduced to me, whether it's through this podcast, a mutual friend, or stumbling upon my online presence. Now, I know it would be a good idea to maybe ask some friends, survey some former clients, talk to other consultants, talk to other people in this industry. I have this voice that holds me back, telling me not to bother those people. If you can't figure this out on your own, how are you going to figure out other things on your own? Which I know is ridiculous because when people ask me for a favor, I'm so quick to jump in with both hands. This is just like letting me know that I have this impulse to help others and diminish myself. Maybe similarly to what you were talking about, where it's easier to focus on like an external thing than actually like dig down to my own vulnerability. Because I think when I start digging into my own vulnerability, I'm worried that I'm going to be taken advantage of, or that the person I'm talking to is going to feel taken advantage of by listening to my vulnerability. Or like there's always this weird thing when it comes to vulnerability for me. The consequence I'm missing out on due to holding on to this specific regret is that I'm afraid to put myself out there until I have this like foundational piece figured out. I'm hesitant to build a website when I'm not even sure what I want to be calling the website long term. I feel like this is a foundational piece, like unchanging. I'm currently doing everything I can with the tools and capacity that I currently have, and that's okay for now. But I definitely want to start leveling up. I have been collecting resources for a while now, and I'm starting to see how it comes together. I am relieved because I do know that really great things take time, and I know I'm building something really great. I'm also really capable of being a compelling copywriter for other people. So I know I should be able to help myself that same way. But I also know that I should be able to ask for help in this area and not have to do it myself. So this regret is not in the past, and I think it might be time for me to send out a survey.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would you like feedback or did you just want to be heard
I
today?
could we could do quick feedback maybe.
Okay. Yeah, I like that you're going to turn this into what, like a three-part
A
series?
three-part series. I had because when I started writing this regret, it started with I regret not asking for help, and then it was like, oh man, I have so many examples of the times I've not asked for help, and then I was able to like bring it. I was able to narrow it down further to the things I think I should be able to do on my own, like versus like there are things that I know I can't do on my own and I still don't ask for help. um but there are things like this thing where it's like, why can't I figure out what my job title is, what my business is named?
Yeah.
Like I can't figure this out on my own, and because it just seems so foundational and like I should be able to figure it out, why would I ask for help?
A few really
Yeah,
interesting things, or a
yeah,
few
yeah.
things came up for me. One is I really struggle with my job title too.
Mm-hmm.
So I've just gone with wellness coach because I'm not a life coach, and there for sure is like cringiness around
Yeah,
being a life coach. So
absolutely.
same as you said, consultant, you're hearing that like life coach is like a joke in sitcoms and stuff. You know what I mean? So
Totally.
like I'm not a
Yeah.
life coach. So it's a wellness coach. So I first of all, I totally get like that part. As soon as you said, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, I struggle with it too. But what I've done now is I've just like, okay, I got to lean into wellness coach. I have to continue to do the work I'm doing because it's not about my title, it's about the work that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, I said to myself, I have to not let this idea of what my title is stop me from doing the work. It's actually not the foundational piece. The foundational piece
Mm.
is actually doing the work with people and working with
Right.
people. The website actually isn't the foundational piece. I don't have to have a website to start. Like flipping what the foundational piece is and the foundation. So this is really interesting. And again, we never plan this, everyone. This comes down to like a little bit of self-worth too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like people aren't going to take me seriously if I don't have a professional website or I don't
Yeah,
have a professional name. But do you believe in what you do? Do you know that the work that you do is awesome?
I do, but it's so hyper individualized.
Right, which what is
And
what makes
yeah,
it awesome, right?
yeah.
Every client that you've worked with, you individualize it so much for them that they get a
Mm-hmm.
great experience out of it and they get success out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Okay.
that's also why I like, and even with my clients that, I don't work with currently, like we stay friendly. Like I'm so certain I could send them stuff and be like, "Oh, can you tell me what this says to you?" Or does this make sense? I know I have those
Yeah.
people in my corner who are so eager to help me with this, and I still don't want to bug them. Because in
Because
my mind, I'm bugging them to ask for that help.
have you ever heard the analogy or this idea of, I don't know, I've never done Toastmasters. I don't know if they teach this in
Right.
Toastmasters, but somebody told me this once. When you're going up to do a speech in front of someone, and let's say you're going up to do a speech in front of a large group of people, say it's like
Mm-hmm.
100 people.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in that room wants you to succeed because
Yeah.
nobody wants to be in the audience when the person's failing on
Yeah.
stage.
Oh, for sure.
I think that kind of connects here too. If you ask
Mm-hmm.
people for help, people want to help you,
Oh,
especially
yeah.
the people that have been your clients. They want to see you succeed because they
Yeah.
know that you're awesome at what you do. So you're assuming that the people you're asking for help feel and perceive the world in the exact same way that you do. You're
Mm-hmm.
putting your worry on them. You're assuming that they're the same as you.
Right.
So you're saying, I don't want to be bothered. You're assuming that they don't want to be bothered. But the
Mm-hmm.
thing is that people love vulnerability. When you're
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable with someone, people love helping you. Do you not
Oh,
love
yeah.
it when your friends are vulnerable with you and you feel like you can help them and they come
Oh,
to you for
yeah.
advice, right? So they're the same.
Oh, yeah.
They're
Oh,
the
and it's so
same.
funny because I give this advice to people all the time. Like one of my very good friends is grieving someone, and like other people want to help, and like, but the refrain is like, yeah, but it's just easier to do it myself, or I want to be there for them. I don't want them to be there for me. And and I had already written this regret when I was talking to this person last night. And I was like, oh, it's so funny that I'm about to give you the very advice that I know I don't want to hear. So
Where do you think it's interesting? Where do you think that programming comes from? So I definitely had to work through it too. And like I was
mm,
saying, my regret is like once I started being vulnerable with people, I realized connection and that helped with my self-worth. But where do you, in general or specifically for you, doesn't matter, you can answer this question anyway. Where does that programming come from in terms of I should be able to do this on my own and I don't need
yeah,
help?
I think I just really I just got, I think I'm just so much more comfortable being the person giving help than the person receiving help. And I think that's a human nature thing. But
Hmm.
I know that other people feel opposite. For me, it's so much easier in a way. Like, I know it's technically not easier, like, it feels easier.
Do you remember it was 1 or 2 episodes ago, we got into a conversation about self-care isn't selfish.
Hmm.
Is it is it a programming where you think that if you ask for help, that's being selfish?
I think there's that. I also think there's a bit of I don't want to lose face, right? Like, and
Mm.
you'll say
So
this
you
too,
don't
like
want to be vulnerable.
we don't
Yeah,
want to
you don't
be
want to be
like
vulnerable.
if part of my services is that I help you get
Mm.
organized, or I help you, have a sounding board, or I am always ready with like this, that, or the other, to admit that like I am not ready with this, that, or the other when it comes to my own business. I don't want to lose face. So yeah, like that's what it comes down to.
So I get that too. And when I was
Hmm.
like starting my business too, it was like, what's my story and
Yeah.
what's this plastic thing that I put out to the world? And again, I kind of did an experiment the same way I did an experiment with my friends, as if I'm vulnerable, then what happens? And I'm
Hmm.
kind of doing that experiment right now on Instagram. I'm posting every day. My kind of goal for this year or the first 6 months of the year is to try to post every day.
Hmm.
And the more vulnerable I am, the more views that post get. And the
Right.
more honest I am, the more business I get actually in
Yeah.
saying, okay, I'm a person that has anxiety. I'm a person that's lived through a burnout. So
Hmm.
here's the tools that I did. People, how do I say this? We can sense when things are authentic. We're
Hmm.
attracted to it.
Yeah.
And we're attracted to when people say, I felt this way, and we go, I felt that way too. I want to work with Shadoe because she's
Hmm.
struggled in this way and she knows how she can help me in this way.
Hmm.
Right. But it's hard to accept that almost or to adopt it, right?
Yeah.
That fear of if I show people that I'm not perfect, why would they value me?
yeah, I think it's so funny because I really think I don't struggle with perfection. Like I really think that I embrace the messiness.
Yeah,
But then it's like okay, let's take your website, like your myrecreo.health website.
sure.
Like you came up with this amazing idea, Recreo. Like it's so catchy, it's so interesting. Like tell me more. Like I don't have that. And I don't think it's enough. I think it's almost a cop out to be like, well, I'll just make my website my name because, like, yes, I have a unique name and I can bank on that, and that's great. But, like, I feel like most businesses are not the person's name. Like, it's usually like what you have going on. Like, you
That's
have
so
Recreo.
funny because I feel the opposite.
Okay, tell me.
Well, in the wellness business or in the business where you're being of service to people. So I would put you
Hmm.
also in the wellness business because I see wellness in a much broader picture.
Hmm. Hmm.
Sometimes I think maybe I should just make it my name because a
Hmm.
lot of people, their business is just their name.
Right.
So that's so interesting that you feel the we feel the total opposite way.
Yeah. Yeah, because I like, to me it makes more sense to have a business name and not make your I don't know.
So I think I came from it from making a business name first because I kind of went through what you did too. Is I thought I had to have the great website and the great and did all this
Mhm.
foundational stuff before I actually started working.
Right.
And this will probably be a regret another time down the road is like I
Mm,
wish I had just started working and
right.
built up the website and built up these other things while I was working because then I feel like I'm kind of behind everything. So
Hmm.
shifting my mindset around what the foundational stuff is or what's really important. And what's really important is helping people getting the experience, getting them to refer you or give you testimonials or whatever, right?
Hmm.
What's really important is actually doing the work. It's not the website. The website
Right.
comes, you can play with it, whatever. And so that's why I'm thinking, like, do I change it to my name because I made a business name? Because I was coming from a place of government or corporate world thinking it
Mm,
had to be a name, especially from government, right? Like, I was afraid to use my name for anything because when I worked
right.
for government, I was a representative of the government. And I'm wondering if that's where that piece is coming from for you too.
Um, I feel less about that piece. It's interesting. I ended up editing this out, but I do think part of my struggle with coming up with a job title that makes sense is a holdover from the government.
Yeah.
Because being an assistant was very like, you're just an assistant, you're just an admin, you're just that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
part of me thinks like, okay, being a virtual assistant, I'm starting fresh, I'm starting at the bottom of the ladder again, blah, 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 blah. So that makes
Mm.
sense. But in a way, it doesn't make sense because I'm not starting at the bottom. This isn't to like, I know there's plenty of virtual assistants who have amazing businesses who are doing awesome stuff. It doesn't feel right for me. And even this like freelance executive assistant doesn't quite feel right either. But to step into consultant is just it's just so not me.
How do you feel about the word coach?
I think coaches have to be certified, and I'm not certified in anything.
But is there a certification for the type of coaching you're doing?
I don't know. No, yes.
Does that
Like
come back down to like self-worth or fear?
I just I feel like maybe it's not. I think it actually that the thing with that self-worth, fear, all that, like it comes down to not wanting to be seen as a fraud because I would never fraud someone and I never want someone to feel taken advantage of. I never want to be the person who's taking advantage of. That to me is such a core belief. Like I am so concerned when I see other people taking advantage of other people. Like it actually like makes me really upset. That people would
Are you going to
like
take advantage of people?
no, but I feel like every time I'm like creating stuff that's like, well, this is going to go up on my website. It I don't know. Like I don't know how to clearly convey what I do for people, and that in itself is the problem. And I feel like the title is going to fix that, but it might not.
Yeah,
Or
like doing the
yeah.
work is important and you'll come it'll come to you, but doing the work is what's important,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Not the foundational stuff. That's not going to fix it, right? It's kind of like if I'm like the perfect body weight and have the perfect muscle mass, it's going
Hmm.
to fix everything, which is what
Yeah.
my regret was kind of about. It's
Right.
not, right? Like, it's about doing the work and getting clients
Hmm.
and you'll find your way through it. The more you do, the more you'll maybe find your way. And also, you're right, asking for help. And you know, it's
Hmm.
really interesting. We've had a few DMs this week too in the Let's Relieve Regret Instagram.
Hmm.
So DM us, everybody. You can message us. Maybe you have an idea for
Yeah.
Shadoe for what the name,
Yeah.
her job title should be, but we're loving it. We're getting these DMs
Hmm.
from people giving us feedback about our episodes. So keep it
Oh,
coming,
yeah.
everyone. So if you do, DM us because we
Hmm.
will respond. It
Oh,
will be Shadoe
absolutely.
or Victoria that responds. It won't be a robot. It won't be another person. So we've been getting some really great DMs actually recently, which is
Hmm.
really great. So maybe ask for help right now and
Yeah,
people
yeah.
DM you.
So, I mean, you've been listening to our podcast. You've kind of gotten a sense of who I am. Yeah, like I don't know how to market myself, and marketing makes me feel icky, and I feel like maybe I could just kind of get over that by coming up with the perfect title. So you're right, there is kind of like a similar thing going on here.
Yeah, it's a limiting belief, right? Would you
Hmm.
agree? Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, and because it's like again, because I haven't come up with my business name or a title of what I do, it's really hard to reach out to potential clients, at least like unless I've already have like a warm welcome there. Most of my clients have come through like being at networking events. And I know like people, I don't love networking events. But I'm not like I'm better at that than I am at like putting stuff
Maybe
out there.
maybe you
Yeah.
do love networking events. And it's okay to say that you love networking events, and
No,
it's
I
okay to
mean,
say that that's how you get your business.
yeah, I mean I do find them exhausting. Um, but I think everyone finds them exhausting and they're also kind of cheesy, but I also think it depends on how you do it. Like if you're trying to work the room and say hello to every single person who's there, then yeah, that's going to be awful. But yeah, if you find a couple or like, just a few people who do really like get what you're doing, then that's always going to be better. But yeah,
Yeah, I think a successful networking event is like one really good connection.
yeah,
It doesn't have to be 20 or 50, but if you get one really good connection, I think that's a success.
yeah, for sure.
Again, that's about you. It's about people see you, people love you when they meet you,
Hmm.
they connect with you, they want to work with you. And that has nothing to do with your job title and nothing to do with you being worthy because that automatically
Hmm.
makes you worthy. Let me ask you in this way. This will be my last question is
Sure.
what is the real fear?
Real fear of like this specific regret or the real fear of
Yeah.
asking for help? Like,
I okay, let's go. What is
sorry.
the no, that you're right, you're right. What is the real fear around starting to do work without a job title?
Oh, I mean, I'm already doing that. I'm already like doing the work and like coming up with all the pieces of my website. But because there isn't a unified brand or a unified thing to call it, that like the fear is just that I'm going to put it out there and it's going to look messy. And then here I am saying I can help you with your mess.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
So,
go
yeah,
another level deeper than that. What's the real fear?
the real fear is I put out this messy thing that isn't clear. And what I'm trying to do is help people become more clear with their
And so
ideas.
what
Like,
so the fear isn't about the messy thing, the fear is about being judged.
it's
The fear is
about
about not getting business. The
the
fear
fears
is
about not getting
about
business and not being like able to authentically present what, like, again, we all have blind spots, right? Like, we all think we're putting out a certain message and we could be completely missing something about it, you know?
so would you say what you've put out so far with the clients that you do have hasn't been perfect? It's been messy?
Yeah, but there's like the people I choose to work with, like they enjoy that process. Like it's not just a here's the mess, now it's done. Like it's a step-by-step trial and error. Let's try this approach. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, let's try this other approach. Oh, okay, well, parts of that approach worked, but I actually really preferred how we did it on this. Okay, let's make a brand new thing then. And I also don't want people to just keep buying stuff. Like there's so many apps and stuff out there that people are just like becoming overwhelmed with because, oh, I have to have all of my to-do lists on, well, I mean, I'm not going to say any specific app, but like, and like maybe you don't. Maybe you just need a sheet, you just need a document, but maybe that works for your brain, maybe it doesn't. Maybe you love the way certain apps are set up and that works for your brain and that's cool. And I'm very adaptable to learning these different ways. But like, is that even a useful service? Like, I don't know.
Well, would your clients think it's a useful service that you've already had?
I would hope so,
I think so. You've told me
but
stories about how your clients love you. So the simple answer there is receiving the compliment and saying yes,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
right? So it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be perfect or slick.
No.
You just have to start to do the work.
I also think the type of people I'm going to work with want time for it to settle. So, like, they might want to visit a website 2 or 3 or 10 times before they decide to work with me. And I don't currently have a place for those people to kind of surf and kind of let it wash over them.
Okay, that's fair.
Hmm.
But does the website have to be perfect? Does the Instagram account
No,
have to be perfect,
it's
right?
not, but
So
it's not about
sometimes
the
you just would do it.
perfection. It's that I don't have this like thing to call it. Like I don't even know what domain to search. I don't know what, you
Mm.
know what I mean? Like,
I mean, you can
uh,
always like start a website, shadowball.com, and you can actually change the domain and still have the same website.
yeah,
Yeah, you can.
yeah.
Right? That's what I'm,
I don't know. It
that's,
just doesn't seem, and then for me, that doesn't seem zippy enough. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So it's not even about the perfection angle. It's about it being like, yeah, like
have you ever heard about this though,
catchy.
too? In terms of when you use like social media for your business, we can get really
Hmm.
stuck in the vanity metrics. So, oh, I'm
Right.
getting this many likes and this many followers, but are those
Hmm.
translating into paying customers?
Right.
So it's kind of the same with a website. Just get something up there with the base minimum and start
Hmm.
translating into customers. Because once people have a phone call with you or a Zoom call with you, they'll love you,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so just yeah, I also think when you listen back to this shadow the last 10 minutes, you've answered all your own questions almost. Like you when
Yeah.
you listen back to this, the way you just described what you do, I can't wait for you to listen back to this and listen
Well,
back to
yeah,
what
like
you just
I'm an out
said.
loud thinker.
Yeah.
I'm an out loud thinker. And
Yeah.
I feel bad for my partner because sometimes like I'm talking, but not because I need him to listen to me, but because if I don't process it out loud, I won't process it properly.
Yeah. That's what I'm
So
saying. I think what
that's a
you
big
just
part
did
of
in the
it.
last 10, 15 minutes, I just enjoyed sitting back here and listening to you
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
you actually were just doing some really good processing in real time. And I think you just
Hmm.
answered some of the questions.
But again, the you know, the base of this regret is that I don't feel comfortable talking about things that are, about my growth. Like I feel it's just so much easier to talk about things I've already done. That's the challenge. That's why we're doing this
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, again, we're in season 4 now, so it's
If
I feel
you,
like I feel like I've used up a lot of my regrets and
but
then,
I think there's always going to be regrets that come. But
oh
I
yeah.
want to ask you a curious question too. If you look back to season one
Hmm.
versus now, do you think you're more comfortable talking about yourself? Like, even if it's just
Yeah.
1% more comfortable.
Oh yeah, no, I'm much more comfortable talking about myself. I'm also much more comfortable listening to my own voice. I feel like it took all of season 1 and half of season 2 probably to like again, still not my favorite thing in the world, but it's not like, as bad as it used to feel.
I think that's
So,
a huge success. I hate to use the word journey because it's cheesy, but like the same like steps or process are happening with your
hmm.
business and will continue to
Yeah.
happen with your business. And I think even just talking about it today has probably helped you process. And I can't wait to see where your brain goes in the next 24 hours or week or whatever
Yeah.
around your business and
Hmm.
around this feeling. And I can't wait for part two either to discuss it again.
Yeah, and the part 2 is a totally different area. It's a totally different area. It's just the same nugget of like, oh, I'll just do that myself. And then I don't do it myself. And then I'm like, oh, well, I better get better about that. And I just keep hoping that beating myself up will like push me to do it.
Yeah.
But that's not the answer. It never is.
Yeah. So that's why I can't wait for part 2 to continue to talk about the same limiting belief, because our limiting beliefs aren't just around one action or thing. They guide so many of our actions, attitudes, and behaviors, right? So
Yeah.
I can't wait for part 2 to discuss it again. And I also can't wait to see where your brain goes over the next little bit with what you've processed today. Because sometimes the celebration is just the processing. And I just want to thank you for being vulnerable. And I just really enjoyed listening to you process there a little bit too. So thank you. That was fun for me. In a
Yeah.
weird way.
Oh, that's so sweet of you. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to add about it?
No, that's good for now. But thank you.
She's reached her limit. You've reached your limit, which is good. You also know when you reach your limit. I know too, because you go, no. And it's good to recognize that too, right? Like it's good to recognize that, we've talked about like how we were very diligent in how we created the format of this, check-in, cause for applause, regret, feedback. And the other thing, when you out there are talking to your friends or whatever, and you're trying to use this process or using it to connect with people, is to also be able to read their energy and recognize when they're done, right? To recognize when they reach their edge or their limit. You don't need to push them to talk about it more. And I'm starting to recognize your cues now, and I think you're starting to recognize my cues now too. And that's okay, because you got what you needed, and now you're going to go away on your own and process what the conversation was about. And that's great too. So,
okay, no, it's funny that you say that, because it's actually less my discomfort with the topic and more my obsessive need to be interesting, which we talked about in season 1. I don't want us to go on and have, and it's so interesting. It's like our listener could just turn it off, but I still feel compelled to be like, oh, well, I don't want the listener to get bored, so I'm done.
That totally ties into your regret today.
Yeah. But that's my impulse. And it's not about, oh, I'm now uncomfortable and sometimes that's happened where I get pushed to the point of discomfort. But no, mostly it's that I want to make sure that this is a compelling, interesting thing for the listener. So I better stop talking, because I've been talking for however many minutes straight now.
Okay, everyone. So. I expect a flooding in our messenger in the Relieve Regret Instagram, telling Shadoe, you can tell me too, I enjoy feedback too, that we are interesting and you appreciate what we have to say. Yes, it is.
I don't need but that's the thing. It's not that I need them to tell me that. It's my own hump. It's so funny. Like, there are the things that I need to deal with on my own that, I'm less I don't know. We'll stop it there, because I have a whole other tangent.
So it's also about here. Okay, I'm just gonna say one more thing.
Yeah.
I think you're blocking it too, saying you're doing exactly what you just said your regret was right now in real time. I don't need to hear it from other people. I should be able to do it on my own. But receiving compliments from the outside and knowing that they're authentic compliments is part of the process. Right? So you literally just did it right now. I shouldn't have to get compliments from other people telling me that I'm interesting. I should be able to figure it out on my own, which is what your regret today was. But no, you should be able to learn how to receive the compliments and bring them into you to help you build your self-worth and your self-confidence, both of them. Everything is connected today that we've talked about. Your regret and my regret. It's all interwoven so many times. So that was amazing. That was real time. Regrets. So, okay. Well, I think everything you have to say is interesting, and I always enjoy having conversations with you. And all you need to say is thank you.
Thank you.
Are you ready for 3 breaths, or is there anything else?
Yeah. Yes, please lead us.
Okay, everybody, come on to the front edge of your seat. We're going to finish off with our 3 breaths, putting your feet flat on the floor if it's safe for you to do so. And just feel your feet. Or if you're sitting in a chair, maybe it's your bum on the chair, your feet on the floor, your back against the back of the chair. And just take a big breath. Breathe out. Sink into those contact points. And acknowledge that those contact points are the earth holding you in the palm of its hand. Gravity will never let you fly away. You are worthy and you are supported just by being a human being on the face of this earth. You are worthy just because you are. Taking your hand and placing it on your heart, taking a big breath in, big exhale, saying to yourself, may you be well. On this next breath, exhale, may you be kind to yourself. And on this last breath, exhale, may you be safe and at ease. Thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to the next time. We hope you have a wonderful day. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye. This episode of Let's Relieve Regret was produced by Shadoe Ball and Victoria Muir-Garcia. We are an independent podcast supported by you, our listeners.
You can become a supporter by donating $3, $5, or even $8 per month at www.letsrelieveregretpodcast.buzzsprout.com and click on the support button. You can find the link in the show notes.
Our goal is to empower as many women as possible to overcome the shame and guilt that accompanies regret.
If this podcast helped you have an aha moment, help us spread the word. It's free for you, and it means the world to us.
Please follow us on Instagram at relieve.regret.
Tell 2 friends.
Or leave a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
Find all this information and more in the show notes. Okay,
Bye.
bye.